Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker Podcast, brought to you by Ducks Unlimited. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver.
Do you see any of them? Look, we got Jimbo, we got Dave on. Do you see anybody bumpering with their phone up there?
Bumpering with their phone? What do you mean?
You're jacking around on your phone.
Yes, because the internet's out at the house and your mom's texting me.
I need you to focus. These are two professionals, and they don't have their phones out.
How do you know they don't have their phones?
I see them.
I'm not on camera. Does Chris have his phone there in the background? Yes, because he's not online on camera. See there? That's how that shit works.
Okay.
Yeah. You also need to be respectful of me, kind of the way they are to each other. You know?
I gotta call you out.
Check out that fancy studio, though.
Love it. The new Ducks Unlimited studio. That is a work of art.
I call it the One Waterfowl Way studio, but they say that's way too long. But
One Waterfowl Way.
I like that.
I'll go with it.
I'll go for that. That's big. So, David, are you the full-time host here? Or is it just going to be Jimbo?
It's going to be Jimbo. It's Jimbo. This is a special day. This is our new video studio. This was the summer project at One Waterfowl Way, and this is the first one we've done where we're not sitting in our offices with squeaky chairs and spit cups behind us and all that other stuff. We're in a real studio.
I miss your office because I love the stuff behind you.
Yeah, Jeff likes looking in.
I love all your stuff in your office.
It's like history. We tried to go history back here for you.
It looks good. I like it. I like the old projector, and the story behind the projector is when David first got into doing all this stuff, you had to show everything on a projector, right?
That's right. I'm an old man.
Is it hard recruiting people to start up new chapters for Ducks Unlimited? Is that a hard deal?
No, I'd say it's harder than it used to because people's time is more taken up now with travel ball and
Cough, cough, Jimbo.
things like that. But you'd be amazed at how many people contact us wanting to start chapters in their communities because we don't have one.
It's funny. I've been doing this a long time, so I've seen the DU chapters that were really big fall off and ones that were small come up. When I first got into the hunting business, Grapevine, Texas had a huge Ducks Unlimited. Mm-hmm. I don't know that they do now. Arlington, Texas used to be really big because I used to hunt all of them guys. I don't know if they're big now. Now Granbury's really grown a lot, I believe.
Yep. And there's a life cycle to a lot of them, and especially in the metro areas like Grapevine. What you'll see is you'll have 2 or 3 chapters. Somebody wants one in their metro community, and that will kind of eat into one of the other chapters a little bit. At the end of the day, it's good for the ducks. The more chapters we have, the more revenues raised, the more conservation work that we do. But when you've been around as long as I have, you see that natural ups and downs as some volunteers retire from the position or something happens in the community, employer shuts down. You always have this circle of life with a lot of the chapters. So it's fun to watch over the years.
And some of it too could be obviously, we talk about the largest transfer of wealth is happening in the world right now, but also I don't think in our urban areas that people move back home after school like they used to.
Right.
So where you have families that all would run a chapter for years and years, 10, 15 years at a time. And then, the son would come back from college, worked on the farm, work in the family business. He'd take it over and continue it. I don't think we see that as much. So sometimes when they move off, they'll start a chapter in their next area. And that's kind of what you were hinting to, Jeff, is some of them just move. So you see smaller ones go up and larger ones go down a little bit. Just where people are moving and the way that society and the world has changed has a little bit to do with that as well, I think.
So that was my story. My family was heavily involved in the Tallahassee, Florida chapter. I found myself in Charlotte out of school, knew nobody, was homesick, just telling my dad how miserable I was. And he said, well, go join the DU chapter. You'll find some people just like you. And I did. And it was wonderful. And all of a sudden I had all these friends and I was going on duck hunts, and it was public hunting, but I was going on duck hunts because I finally had somebody to show me where to go on the lakes around there. and then boom, the rest of your life happens.
That's amazing.
Well, and I think like the Metroplex area, I think it gets kind of yuppieized, if that makes if that's a word. Grapevine a long time ago was kind of out in the kind of off by itself in the country, and you had more of the country folk mindset, and then now all of a sudden you look at it and it's one town after the next, and more yuppies start moving to these areas, and
I think you're batting 1,000 on that. I think that's right.
Right.
What if a guy like me come up to you and I called up and I said, hey, I want to start a chapter in Knox City. Now, I know in Knox City I don't have a lot of deep pocket guys, but I'd like to start a local chapter. What is the process for someone that wants to start a local chapter that doesn't have one in their area?
Well, the first thing you do is contact Ducks Unlimited. Either go to the website, ducks.org. All the information you can find there to volunteer is there. We get it back in touch. But in that case, if you said, all right, I want to start a chapter, great. We want a chapter in Knox City. A staff person is going to come and meet with you, and the first thing they're going to ask is, do you have 3 or 4 friends that would be interested in doing this with you? Because it takes more than one person. Yes, one person has held an event. Those things are never sustainable, just like a one-person business or a one-person podcast in some cases are not sustainable just because of the load it puts on somebody. So it's going to be, let's gather up a group. Jimbo might have had a different rule. I used to like to start with 7 or 8 volunteers to start a new chapter, and then it's game on. Let's find a place to hold an event and talk about how we're going to get like-minded people here to have a good time and raise money for conservation.
I'm going to ask the question that people are thinking that they're afraid to ask, but I want to ask because I want to know this too. How much money do you expect for an event to be able to capture for it to be worth y'all's time?
I don't have a number that I put on it.
Because I
did.
Yeah. If we're getting people together and they're passionate about the resource and we raise a little bit of money, that's great.
It's situational too. I mean, I had an area that used to have a huge DU event, totally went away, came in, started a new chapter. And Jeff, like you said, this guy he came and found me at another event that he was attending that was like an hour away. And he's like, man, I don't want to travel an hour away anymore. Tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, I'm going to start one locally. I said, let's do it. So went and met with him, and it took a year. And kind of like what David said, I think originally he said, man, I don't want this to happen in 2 months. I mean, that's one of the other misconceptions about it is, oh, they're going to want me to host it within 2 or 3 months. And that wasn't the case. We built this for a year, ended up with, I think, 9 people on this committee. And the crazy thing is that the old chapter did things a lot differently than I had been doing with other events. And so we had a different philosophy on how we were going to do it. And he was all about it. And we threw one heck of an event, had 135 people at the first one, and only raised about $3,000. That was also part of bringing DU back in some old, in a new way, right? And so we had nice guns, had a better meal than what they had. And we showed the people that, DU was back in a better way in that town. Fast forward, now the event does $28,000, $30,000 a year. And so it slowly built up to what it is today. But we had to, start off with training wheels, and then those things come off, and now you're out on a big mountain bike. So that's kind of, everybody does it differently. It's a lot of it is situational.
See, I think that
there's no dollar figure.
I think we could have a little chapter here because there's nothing to do here. So if you've done a deal where people got to dress up, bring your wife, we're going to have cocktails, we're going to feed you a steak dinner and nice dinner. It's going to cost you $100 a person to get in, but it's going to get away from the kids for 3 or 4 hours. We're going to have good food, and we're going to have an auction. And I think it could make it. I don't expect there's going to be 100 people here, but I think we could come up with 40 to 50 people. But
in a lot, exactly what you're saying, that happens all over the country. Specialized crowds, high end, high price, and it's you set your ticket prices and what you're doing ahead of time, and you can kind of build that event around what you want.
Yeah, I think I could.
And you're going to get the same features.
I think I could pull in 40 people at $100 a pop and feed them a nice big steak dinner and free drinks, and I think I could get them through the door. But I don't know how much.
Sounds like Jeff's starting DU chapter out here.
I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to get credit or Jimbo's going to get credit on
Well,
this.
when are we going to do it? November 16th?
If I do something like this, the event will be taking place in June probably because
Perfect.
I'm not doing nothing during hunting season from September to January. I've got way too much shit on my plate. May or June would be a good time to do it. May probably before it gets hot would be good. But I think that I've thought about this many times, but I've always thought we can't raise enough money to make it worth Ducks Unlimited's time. That's the deal. Because I go to these events. Well, I went to an event in a bigger city a year ago, and there wasn't very many people there. I was really surprised, but it wasn't a regular DU deal. It was like a guns and beer podcast or not podcast event or a guns and crawfish. I can't remember what it was, but it was really a smaller deal. But they didn't have a ton of people. They probably 50 people there.
I mean, we used to host a crawfish bowl here in Memphis with 1,000 people, and our net on the event, what we would raise is like $8,000-$9,000.
Yeah,
and you don't think, right? You're like, wow, 1,000 people. The number one, the crawfish was so expensive, right? And they would do it all. It was a bigger event, but at the same time, we never wanted to give up the 1,000 people membership, and so we just kind of said, you know what? This is a huge event. Everybody loves crawfish. We're getting 1,000 people, DU memberships. The money is what it is. It's not going to. We couldn't get it to go up, and it always stayed about the same no matter what we did. So, that's probably.
But it's a great event.
It's an awesome event. Everybody has a great time. It's 1,000 people. Mm-hmm. We'll take those memberships all day.
I was at, I think I was in maybe Ely, Minnesota. I was somewhere in northern Minnesota years ago, like 30 years ago. And they had a DU banquet at a bar. We went to eat, and the bar was next to it. It was connected, a bar. And they was having a DU banquet in there. We went in there, and a buddy of mine bought a painting and stuff. But it was a very localized, not a high-end deal. And he's like, my God, you can find some damn good art at good prices if you can go to these smaller ones. And he was right, and it was a fun time, but it was really small. And even since then, I've always thought about, since being out here, about having a DU chapter, just a local one. But I was always worried that we couldn't get enough people to make it worth your time.
No, we have events as small as 25, 30 people. And then talk about Minnesota, a fishing tournament up there that has 5,000 people. But there is a place in this organization for everybody, and that includes everybody's events. So,
and they're all different. I think that's what's so unique about DU that people don't maybe not know or understand, is that there are events for not every single person financially and what you like to do. There's events that, second events that chapters hosted where you can get in for $20. There's events you can pay $5,000 to get in. There's something for everybody in every different community across the country. And in Minnesota, they do fishing tournaments in bars, which is something that I can't even begin to explain it. But
decks of cards that have pictures of fish on it. And they'll actually do a fishing tournament sitting there drinking beer, and they deal out the cards, and then whatever you flip is a 12.42 pound pike. Okay, well, that's your big fish, and you sit there and hold it. And I don't understand it being from the South necessarily, but
there's nothing else to do, I guess, up there in the winter month.
Other than doing it for real.
I wasn't in Minnesota. I was in northern Wisconsin. I think I was around Mercer or Hurley, but this was interesting. You told me that the fishing deal. We were there in October. So it was right when it was fixing to get cold. I was coming home for hunting season. So it was in October, late October. They had a walk. You walk down like around the river, and they had these luminaries like that you would have at Christmas time in Albuquerque, New Mexico, or Santa Fe, where they got the luminaries. They had them all along the deal, and it was for you to walk for people that had died from cancer. You walk through that and went into the bar to the Ducks Unlimited deal. It was the craziest shit. I never did understand how that all played together, but it did. But these people are like, do you want to walk down by the river by the luminaries and think of someone that passed away from cancer? I was 22 years old. Like, hell no, I don't want to do that kind of crap. That's kind of weird. But that was the deal. They would walk you through these luminaries, come up in the bar, give you free drinks and beer, and then bid on a painting.
It's wonderful up there. I love Wisconsin and Minnesota and that culture.
Oh, the people enjoy their alcohol, their food. They have a good time. Good people. Really good people.
What do they call their meals? What do they call we call them casseroles. They don't. What are those?
They have supper clubs.
Yeah,
Sorry, I put
not
you
a pot, not a potluck, but a.
I'll think of it in a minute. We just talked about them. They like tater tots, and then maybe the topping. Anyway, they have massive trays of whatever this is. It is a casserole. In the South, it would be a casserole.
But up north,
but that's not
what was it? Ryan's dad has the
hot dish. Is it a hot dish?
Hot dish. There you go.
There you go.
Hot dish.
Boy, Andy, did you just Google that?
What was it? One of our friends.
What'd you put in? Casserole?
I said, what do Northerners call casseroles?
Hot dish.
Hot dish. Correct term is Midwesterners.
Midwesterners. Okay. A good friend of ours, his dad grew up in northern Wisconsin, and we were just talking about this the other day at Squad Fest. They would go to a bar at night, like after a bowling tournament or whatever they were doing, and they'd come in and they'd put a piece of plywood on top of the pool table, and they'd put a tray out in the middle of it, and they would eat raw hamburger meat.
Call it tiger meat.
Tiger meat. And they go with those crackers, and you just go out and give you a big scoop of raw hamburger meat with seasoning, and that was a normal to go in there and eat 5 pounds of raw hamburger meat.
How was Squad Fest?
It was good.
It was good.
It wasn't hot this year, so that was a big bonus. High was in the mid 80s both days. So
yeah, it was really nice. Met a nice Ducks Unlimited guy there. They were giving away something. Our good friend Mike Hurt, him and his wife won one of the big packages from DU. But when I was walking out, he was talking to me, and we talked about both of you guys.
I bet his name was Todd Carlton.
I don't remember. I met so many people.
Or Jim King.
Or Jim King, yeah.
One of them. I don't.
Anyways, they spoke highly of both of you guys.
a nice lady that hunts with us bought a neon sign, so they were very happy about that.
Yeah,
alcohol might have been a factor, but she went up to the guys, kind of talking a little bit of shit, like, how much are those signs? And they told them a price, and they're like, I'd only give you this much for it. And they said, all right, is that gonna be cash or card? She's like, well, shit, you called my bluff. So either way, she ponied up and bought it. She's like, I couldn't back away from it then, because they met my price. And
the profit margin for that DU chapter was very, very good on that thing. Very, very good. Like a lot.
yeah, but she did. They're like, it'll be this much. Well, I'd only give you this much. All right, cool, cash or card. Damn it, they got me.
She would be a sucker if y'all had a DU banquet and y'all had men dressed like the Fancy Feathers girl with half nothing on, because she would have bought anything at that time.
Yeah.
She was gone.
She was spending money.
Unfortunately, I don't know that we will ever see that day.
But I don't know like that, but we have had events where they have requested co-ed raffle sales associates.
Well, we have an event here in Memphis, the Women of Wetlands chapter, and the guys sell the raffle tickets. I mean, we're not the best looking dudes in the world, but
they putting you in a thong and high heels?
No.
I've never been asked.
Would you do that for the Ducks? Would you?
No.
For the Ducks, you wouldn't. If someone come up and said, I will give $100,000 to Ducks Unlimited if Jimbo will wear a Speedo thong around and some pumps, would you do it?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
For 10 grand, would you?
Yes.
5 grand.
Ooh, Jimbo's thinking about it now.
5 grand. David was quick on 5 grand.
He's doing that for me.
No, I'm doing that for me. You're a lot better shape than I am.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'd pay. Never mind. What's funny is my kids swam this summer. Trip swam. Talk about Speedos, Jeff. Your wish may come true. And they had a parents relay, and Trip said, "Hey, Dad, you need to bring your bathing suit." And I said, "No, buddy. Like, they've got these parents. Probably the parents that are swimming in. They're swimmers. Like, you just came out of the. They asked you to be on the swim team. We either thought you were going to sink to the bottom or be a great floater." And he ended up being an awesome swimmer. Qualified for the city swim meet and got 8th in the city, which was for his first year, was great. So they did parents relay. Well, one of the dads forgot his bathing suit, right? So he's like, "Dad, I told you." So, "Yeah, will you do it?" I was like, "Sure, I'll do it." Well, there were 5,000 people there. Well, some of the parents that are really into swimming, let's say this. So I jumped in the pool, did it. We got 3rd out of 8 other clubs, parent relay. Felt pretty good about it. After the swim meet, the coaches did it of the teams, and a couple of them had on their Speedos, and they're in college swimming. And so Trip and Leela, my kids, were like, Dad, you have got to wear jammer, which was what they call modern day men's swimming deals. And I was like, that's never happening. And they did make me a bet that if the other two coaches would wear it, that I would have to wear it. And I was like, well, yeah, they're not going to wear it. Absolutely. I'll make you a bet. So, well, now I know that both of the other two parents that do it did swim in college and have them and are totally willing to wear them.
I need a date.
So next June, there is a potential, because if I tell the kids something, I'm going to live up to it. I may embarrass myself, but I'll do it.
You're gonna wear a nut hammock in front of 5,000 people and swim.
You know, yes, I would 100% do that for my kids.
There
Absolutely.
You go. So now back to David. For $5,000, you'll wear a Speedo and some pumps and walk around. So when you're up here for the hunt in November, if I could raise $5,000, you would wear that to dinner and eat it at dinner and here that night.
No.
Okay. That was a good.
That
was a very smart answer.
Thank you, David. Yeah, because
I would have been on the phone and had that money collected real fast.
he would have had that money before we got off this podcast.
Ducks Unlimited by themselves, I could have called chapters and presidents of chapters. Oh yeah, we're good for. Yeah, we'd have that money.
I could have that for you.
I know who listens.
Yeah.
I know who listens to this podcast. In fact, I'm going back. 10,000 is a no. You raise 50 and I'll do it.
Yeah.
50 be worth it.
Oh, 100%.
I guess now you think you're fucking Britney Spears now. You're worth $50,000 to see you half naked with some pumps on. And that's David Schuessler's OnlyFans.
Right.
All money goes to Ducks Unlimited.
So talk to me about this, because last time we had you on, the news had not broken yet. $100 million. Cox Enterprises has committed $100 million to Ducks Unlimited. What a deal that was. Holy hell. That is an obscene amount of money.
Yeah, and I was on the phone with you the
morning after. It had not hit I guess the press release had not gone out yet. Shortly thereafter it did, and I'm proud to say that our prairie conservation staff immediately went to work, because we had to put together a plan to say how we were going to spend this money in the breeding grounds to the foundation's desires. And in about 2 months, actually it wasn't even that long, 6 weeks, they had the plan together. It was approved. And so we are getting to work on putting that money to work on the prairies, which, as we've talked about before, benefits everybody in the country. And not only the prairies of U.S., there's also the prairies of Canada that are included inside of all of that. So it's really exciting. We're kind of still riding a high on that, just because it's such a monumental gift, and what we will be able to do with it as far as conserving those critical landscapes for breeding waterfowl in the north central U.S. and Canada.
So how does that even come up with that dollar amount? You know what I mean? Like, they come up and like, hey, we want to contribute, something for the ducks, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. And then, are you just floored whenever they give you the amount of money that they're willing to commit?
Yeah, so we were floored. We knew, and that announcement was made at our national convention. We knew that Jim Kennedy, who is the conduit between Cox and Ducks Unlimited, we knew that he was going to make an announcement of significance. Nobody knew. Our CEO, Adam Putnam, who was on stage with Jim at the time of the announcement, did not know. And so, people were talking about, well, how much do you think it's going to be? I don't know if anybody came close to 100 million.
No, 25 million was what people thought, because he had done that in the past.
That's right.
Within the 75th anniversary year. So they thought, oh, well, if it's here, maybe somewhere in the 25. But there were a lot of people saying 10, 15 million.
So when he announced 100, like, there was an audible gasp from the 850, 900 people who were in the audience. And we were standing together. People were dropping. Like, cups were hitting the ground. Cups were hitting the floor. You could hear a pin drop for a split second, and then there was it was like a Hail Mary touchdown was scored. Just the whole crowd, just hands go up, and everybody's high-fiving and hugging, because everybody there understood the significance of a gift like that and what it'll allow Ducks Unlimited to do in that most important of the most important breeding landscapes.
There's a really great story our conservation team tells of Jonas and Johan in the weeks leading up to this. Totally had no idea. We're standing on the prairies and they were looking at these like 3 easements, these massive pieces of property. And Jonas said, man, wouldn't it be amazing? And this is an exact true story. And I think they're going to write about it at some point, but wouldn't it be amazing if we had $50 million and could do that work on these easements over here? And like when the announcement it was made, yep, and the prairies. And apparently Johan instantly texted and goes, I don't know what we did, but it's coming true. And it was a dream. I mean, they were standing working and it was a dream. And it's like, well, now we've doubled it. So we've got to go find other amazing easements to help do this work on. And, you know, when you think about it, it's like I just told my kids on the phone before I come in here, well, Dad, what have you been doing? I was like, well, I've actually been cutting the grass at DU. And they were like, literally? And I was like, yep. So we've got all the 3rd term kids. And one of the things we're doing, this will probably air after we take the picture. It'll be okay. But we're putting all of the 3rd term kids inside the letters COX. And so our chief brand officer and myself went out and we drew it out and then we cut it in the grass. We told them, don't cut the grass like for the next week, which probably could have done as much rain as we had. We could have done it less, but grass was really thick. And so we cut it out and have the kids stand in it, do a thank you. But it just looks amazing. And every time I see the words, it's just, you think about $100 million, it's monumental.
Yeah.
And the work will be forever. I mean, the work that they're doing, these easements, I mean, it's in perpetuity. So it'll last forever.
Well, I mean, it's amazing.
Well,
I mean, it really is.
Speaking of the potholes, what are we looking at right now? Are we in a drought situation or are things getting better?
Oh, there's no doubt things are getting better. We had late spring, early summer rain in that part of the country, more than we've had in the past few years. I think we were, because they could not fly the transects for the breeding counts during the pandemic. I don't believe anybody understood exactly how dry the prairie pothole region became, and we had no data to support that. And it stayed that dry up late May into June. So we're all anxiously awaiting, because DU awaits those pond and breeding pair counts, what they call the
BPOP.
The BPOP surveys. We sit and wait on those to come out from the Fish and Wildlife Service, the Canadian Wildlife Service, and state agencies, just like everybody else out there. And the big question is, what is it going to say? Because everybody knew that we got rains. It would have been great to have them a month or 2 earlier before the birds really settled in and started the job of reproduction. But what is it going to do in terms of the grass, the adapted harvest management graph, and where are we going to be? Because some people, there is a concern that not this upcoming season, because you work a season in advance, but not this upcoming season, but the season after that, the 25-26 season, will we see a reduction in the number of days? And how many ponds they counted and how many breeding pairs they counted determines that. So it's getting wetter, but it wasn't very wet when they made those counts. So it's a big unknown right now.
It gets you excited when you see all the rain and you look up there and you're like, whoa, all right, it's there. And I actually listened to Dr. Scott Stevens and Dr. Mike Brazier, who y'all have had on here before, talk on a DU podcast recently. And I was excited about it until I heard them talk. I was like, because it wasn't as wet as it is now when the ducks got back there. So they did, there is some positives on that. Birds that arrived late. And second, birds that renesting, the positives to all that. So there were a lot of positives in it, but I think everybody is anxiously awaiting this year's numbers, because we don't know, right? You're guessing that it wasn't wet enough. Well, how fast did they get back? So they know some, but we'll see.
And that comes out this month, doesn't it?
Mid to later August.
It comes out this month, and they're really, so the agencies are really tight-lipped on that. I mean, it's not like we can walk down the hall here and go, hey, what are they saying? We sit and wait.
Yeah.
We sit and wait with everybody else. And, the optimist, the duck hunting, goose hunting optimist in me wants it to remain a liberal package for 25 and 26. I think the realist in me and the person who follows how dry it is up there, how wet it is up there, and looks at the surveys pretty in depth every year. The realist in me is preparing for the potential of a reduced season length, and with that reduction in bag limits in 25 and 26. But that's just David Schuessler. That's not a DU statement. So that's just me.
You're thinking we're going to have a smaller day, the shorter days to hunt. So, like, what are we on, 106 days right now in some places?
Are y'all high?
We're High Plains.
Y'all are High Plains, and that's such a rib, and I can't quote the High Plains specifically, but let's say for the Atlantic and the Mississippi flyways, a liberal package is 60 days and 6 birds. Of course, you have smaller species specific limits inside of that on either mallard hens, redheads, wood ducks. If it went to a moderate package, that would be 45 days and 4 ducks, and then a restrictive package is 30 days and 3 ducks.
I would like to see us go to 60 days in those areas. In my area, I would like to keep my days, cut down my bag limit. I don't care if we goes to 3 ducks a day or 4 ducks a day. It don't bother me. People are still going to hunt. You start getting into 2 and 3 days and only 30 days of hunting, and you're going to lose some hunters just because they just don't want to do the work for just 30 days. The true hunter's still going to hunt, but keep the days, just lower the bag limit, to me is the answer to that.
And there's a lot of discussion about that, and that is your desire is not unique. And I will tell you, as somebody who gets out as much as I possibly can, I spend as much vacation as I can every year hunting them. I don't need 6 ducks. And again, this is not a Ducks Unlimited statement. This is David Schuessler as a waterfowl hunter. When I shoot 4 ducks, I feel satisfied.
It's a great shoot. If you shoot 3 or 4 ducks, it's a great job. But who wants to not your waterfowl season to start on Thanksgiving and end on Christmas? That's your 30 days. If they went to 30 days, that's basically what it is.
Well, yeah, if the state chose to do that, and thinking back to before these liberal packages, which I'm old enough to remember when we did have restrictive seasons, a lot of states will go to if they can do it within the framework, 3 different seasons. You'd have 2 different splits. And I'm trying to remember growing up, I know there was a Thanksgiving season, then it went out for a while. Then you had kind of the December season, and then it went out for a while, and then you had your January season. And they try to spread it out just to try to capture as much of the fluctuation of cold fronts and everything else. But I'd like most duck hunters, I want to maximize the amount of time I can be in the blind.
You go to 30-day season, and there won't be 10% of the outfitters in business within 2 years. They can't make a living on 30 days. And that's not what it's all set up for, is outfitters. I understand that. You're also going to lose a lot of interest because when the East Coast went to 1 Canada goose, you couldn't hardly find anybody goose hunting on the East Coast hardly anymore. It's a lot of work to shoot 1 bird. If you love to hunt, but it's over in 3 minutes, it's tough. And
it's crazy how that 1 bird makes a difference. Because even when specs in Arkansas and in this part of the area go to 2, it seems like there's more people hunting them.
Yeah, I'm going to hunt them.
But for 1, you're not going to do it. But for 2, you're all in. And then 3, everybody's a goose hunter. I mean, it's crazy to think about how we're talking going from 6 to 4 or 6 to 3. We're not talking about it. It's been
said.
It's been thrown out. It's said, right? But it's just funny that you said, there's no more goose hunters with 1. But if it's 2 specs, people are hunting them like crazy. If there's 3, everybody's an outfitter, everybody's a guide, and everybody's hunting.
Yeah, we're at 5 now, and we're only going to shoot 3.
And how often do y'all don't kill 5?
No, we're shooting
We've been
3.
at 2 forever.
We've been 2, and now they've went to 5. I'm good with 3 dark geese. Yeah. We're stopping at 3 birds. That's our 3 specs, and we're done. We're not doing 5. And I've caught some crap the last couple of weeks over that. People called me and not excited. Well, that's just the way it is. If you want to shoot 5 specs, go somewhere else. But if you're going to shoot Here with us, you're only going to shoot 3 specks. But I would rather us have 2 or 3 specks and have them all season long than to shoot 5 and they consolidate our numbers down. That doesn't do anything any good. But I think that's where we're going to go to eventually, is we're going to see less numbers in duck bag limits, and we're going to have, but we'll be able to keep the days. I think the state and the feds want people to hunt, so I think we'll have more days.
Yeah, this whole, and let me just say this one thing: this whole system that they developed was not developed to penalize anybody. Like if we end up seeing a reduction, it's because the science has told us we need a reduction. And so much of that, I mean, while we certainly have a loss of native grassland up there, and that's what DU does. I mean, we try to conserve that native grassland and then put programs in place to replicate that, to try to build back that breeding area. But so much of it is dictated by Mother Nature and how much rain she puts out of the sky. But I think everybody needs to understand that if the news isn't what we were hoping for, there's a reason for it. And we've been very fortunate. I guess we're going on damn near 30 years almost of liberal seasons. And
they laugh at me because I don't remember.
Yeah, Jimbo doesn't remember. You don't remember 3 ducks.
So my grandfather said that when I was 6 or 7, which had been close, he says when I was really, really young, when I killed my first duck or went on my first duck hunt, that was during a liberal season.
That's about right.
And it was we had 10 days in December. We went 3 days in a row. May have been right as I got out of school, or I don't remember, but it was on the Tigert. It was in Tigert Bottoms, in West Tennessee. So
that's about exactly right.
But I don't remember it since I can really remember going. But my grandfather talks about it a lot more recently than he did in years. And he's like, we've gone through these before, and it's not, he calls them resets, right? That's what in his mind, he's not a scientist. He's just a diehard duck hunter. He'll probably die in the field one day. But he's just said, we need a reset. And we've been going this long, and we have this many duck hunters, and people say we're down in the duck hunters, and people say all kinds of stuff. But at the end of the day, in his opinion, we need a reset just so that we can continue to do it forever and ever.
When I was a kid, we were on the point system. And so it was a lot more liberal bag limit. I mean, you could shoot 10 teal, 10 pintails. I don't remember what all was the 10-point duck. I think widgeons were 5. You could shoot 5 widgeons, and basically what it was now, I think mallards, you could shoot 3 or 4 or 5, 1 hen, 1 canvas back, but it was on the point system. And we had all these years we could shoot all these ducks, and then all of a sudden, I can't remember when it was, 84 to 90, somewhere in that time frame, we went to where we could only shoot 2 or 3 ducks a day. And I quit duck hunting, and that's when I started goose hunting, because my goose limits was the same as the duck. So we started goose hunting. But there was definitely a huge swing in the amount of duck population from the 70s to the mid 80s. I mean, it was obvious. And then all the ducks came back again. And it's a cycle, and we're going to go through that again, and we're just going to have to change some things. But I don't remember when I first got in the hunting business, the goose season, it seemed like stopped in the middle of January, but then a couple of years into it, we were going through the middle of February for it, in which we do now. We go to February 6th. I remember one year we went clear to February 18th. And I'm going to tell you right now, a Canada goose guide in West Texas is fried by February 1st. Those last 3 weeks are long. I don't want to go through that again. I want to see it I want to switch it up a little bit. Sandhill cranes. I keep hearing where sandhill crane numbers, the limits are going to decrease because there's too many people shooting them now. And a crane only has 1 baby, if I'm right. 1 egg or 2.
I don't know much about them. I do know that, and just in talking with coworkers as well as friends in Texas, that's been verbalized for a while, that the harvest has increased just because of the popularity of it. Everybody wants to do it, right? I've done it a lot, but the novelty of going once, you have a lot of people that are traveling not only into West Texas, but other places where you can hunt cranes, and that there is a concern of overharvest of them. But I can't speak really to that with any intelligence other than that.
Yeah, they have 2 eggs per clutch in the wild most of the time.
So let's say if they're 50-50, only
sometimes 1 to 3.
Okay.
So I mean, you're just not seeing the big clutch size.
There's some big news in Texas that nobody's really jumped on or talked about, and I don't know why it hasn't become more of a internet news type cycle. The wildlife refuge Muleshoe at Lubbock, Texas is 7,000 acres. They're wanting to make it 700,000 acres. There's $1 billion have been set aside for this. Now, I know it's not all bullshit because I talked to the congressman in Lubbock's office the other day. I didn't talk to him. I talked to one of his interns, a guy that answers the phone, and we talked about this. But this is a legit deal. In February of 23, I believe, or maybe this February, they passed a law that you cannot do any kind of farming on federal land anymore on these refuges. Now, if you're going to take out 700,000 acres of prime farmland west of Lubbock, Texas to Clovis, New Mexico, it's going to encompass 11 counties. And you're going to go in there and do eminent domain and take this land over, and there's not going to be any farming on it. That's not good for the birds. Have y'all heard about any of this going on?
Yes.
So it's a legit I also heard there are also 100,000 acres on the Texas coast they're wanting to incorporate into a refuge, and another 50,000 acres somewhere by Houston, somewhere in the Big Pines.
It is a significant concern to in the wildlife community. It is a significant concern to have that much of a change in management practice on these areas. And I know that it is a very hot topic in Washington, D.C.
I mean, I don't know what the sandhill crane population is, and I don't know what the wintering grounds crane population is in Lubbock, Texas. But I'm going to probably guess that 20 to 25% of all the sandhill cranes in the United States are in that area where they winter. There's an ungodly amount of cranes between Clovis and Lubbock. And that's where that land is. So you're going to take away the farmland where they're eating corn, milo, wheat, and you're going to do away with all that farming there. And then you've got 25% of the population of the sandhill cranes. And I may be off on that, but I'm just guessing.
15%.
15% of all the cranes are in that
According
area.
to Texas Monthly.
That's a lot of birds to have nowhere with food at anymore.
Oh, they'll just move to Arkansas.
Perfect.
Well,
where all the other ones moved.
That's where they all moved, apparently.
That's where the snow geese, the snow geese moved to.
yeah, but that was from South Texas. I don't know where these cranes are going to go, but I mean, you already go to Nebraska where they can't hunt them. And then they're going to put, that's a ton of land, 700,000 acres.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hold on. So back up a little bit, Jeff. You said no more farming on federal land. So how these guys were leasing this land from the federal government?
No, people own it. They're going to go take your land away. Like if your family owns 5,000 acres in Briscom County in Texas.
But I was confused with the way that you phrased this. You said they're no longer allowing farming on federal land, and that's going to encompass this land.
Well, yeah,
they're going to eminent domain, take away this land, call it federal land, and nobody will be farming it.
Okay, from what I understand, and
it's that Texas Tech education.
But I do think, Andy, it's two different things. I know nothing about the Muleshoe. I have not heard, and not doubting that what Jeff heard didn't happen. There is also discussions about reducing the amount of farming, the leased land farming on National Wildlife Refuge properties. That is another discussion that's happening in D.C.
And it's all over green energy.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what it is. I read the article on it, from the actual legal paperwork not long ago on it, and it said that's one of the things. It's a green energy push that they can take away this, because I think farming's bad. You don't want cattle. They fart. Causes green gases and all this bull crap. So they said if they go in and they cut out all the farmland, they're just going to put it in native grasses and leave it alone. And that's better for the environment, they're saying. But you imagine a farmer. You've got 5,000 acres. Your family farms it. You make a living off of it. You're an older guy like me. You've got son Andy's age that's farming and his family. You know, you got 2 or 3 groups of family members that are living off 5,000 acres of farmland. That's a full-time job taking care of that. And it has for 100 years. And then all of a sudden the federal government's going to come in and say, you know what, we're going to give you $3,000 an acre for it, which is $500 an acre for it more, and you're gone. And to me, that's wrong. They're not building a sports complex. They're not building a nuclear power plant there. They're doing it just to put your ground in grass and leave it alone.
Well, it would, if in what you've described, there is no doubt that that much of a change on a landscape of that size would certainly have an impact on migratory birds like the cranes, which are not waterfowl. A crane is more like a dove than a duck.
Right.
And when you stop and think about it, it really is. But yes, I would believe that would have to have an impact.
And they also probably winter 100 to 200,000 small Canada geese out there too, and snow geese. They've got a lot of waterfowl out there, ducks, geese, everything, and that's going to be off limits. Because the complete opposite of that, outside of Wichita Falls, there's a guy that has bought 30, 40, 50,000 acres of land. He probably owns more than that now. And he goes in, he's bought these old mesquite patches, and he's chained them completely down and planted wheat on them everywhere. They hold 30 to 40,000 geese now. Those birds don't ever leave his property. Nobody's allowed to hunt them, and they just sit there. That's awesome.
If you have an easement on that, can they take it if you have an easement?
Federal government can do whatever they want, probably. They say there's nothing you can do.
Through eminent domain.
Yeah, for the eminent domain, they can take it. I mean, everybody out there's got some kind of easement of some sort on their property just about. But the government can come in and take every bit of it, they said. There ain't nothing you can do about it. There's a guy out there trying to fight for this. But it's also going to be on the Texas coast. But we're talking 700,000 acres. I think we looked it up the other day, and Rhode Island is only 3 million acres.
It's going to be a big deal.
That's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of land that's really a huge area for waterfowl hunting, that if they go in and take it up, nobody trusts the government on anything anyways, but I think there's some kind of mineral under the ground that they know about, and that's what they're doing, is they're going to hold the minerals and keep it for themselves.
Oh, you got your tinfoil hat on now.
There's just something, I just can't imagine why all of a sudden they want to set that kind of land aside without having some kind of ulterior motive.
We got to get the congressman on.
I did that. I talked to them on Friday. On Saturdays when they shot Trump.
Right.
And so things have been in disarray since then. But I had talked to them on Friday about that and emailed them. And so hopefully I can get him on. But he's fighting it. He's in Lubbock and he is fighting it. But it just blows my mind that this hasn't made more of a stir nationally. Because they can do it in West Texas. They can do it everywhere. They could go to Tony Vandemore's in there and say, hey, we're going to make it eminent domain right off the Missouri River, and all that stuff's going to become ours. We're going to pay you for it, and that's the end of it. Nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really stepping on some people's freedoms.
Man, I try not to think about that.
No, but I mean, that could happen though. I mean, we're talking if they're going to do 1 million acres in Texas and set aside $1 billion for it. I mean, they've got $1 billion set aside in a fund to do all of this with. So that's completely opposite of what Ducks Unlimited's doing. It seems like someone's now going to trying to do completely opposite to make it harder for us.
Right.
So anyways, I just was curious if you knew about that. It makes me feel better David does know about it. So it is making headway in Washington, D.C. then.
Yes, it is being discussed there. No doubt.
So what's your predictions on duck season this year?
You already gave them to you.
I know, but I want to know, good year, bad year?
Oh, I mean, we're going to have a liberal package.
No.
year.
I'm talking about hunting. I'm not talking about numbers.
I know. I judge it on how hot the summer is.
Well, it's getting hot here now.
At least in this part of the world, it's been my experience. I've lived here and now hunted the Arkansas Grand Prairie. This will be my 18th or 19th year hunting the Grand Prairie. The hotter the summer, the colder the winter, and the better the duck hunting. And we have been blistering.
Yeah.
So my prediction is it is going to be a cold winter with lots of snow cover and frigid temperatures up north, and that we are going to have a better than average duck
God
season.
bless David Schuessler. Jimbo, top that puppy down.
Well, I know. See, he's backing that too, 100%. He's not just talking that because he swung by my office yesterday and goes, "What about ice eaters?"
You're fully committed. From
There
your
you
mouth
go.
to God's ear, it's going to happen.
Well, let's go down. I've got two of them. I've got this one and this one. One of them runs off a small generator and mobile, and the other one runs off a big generator.
I haven't used them in 6 years.
No, yeah, that's what's crazy is even when last year, obviously it got down really cold for.
It's too late.
It was too late. And, we had people, I had somebody in town I had to go and bust an open for. And I used a chainsaw, busted a spot and ran the isolator for dirt. Didn't work. It did work in our swamp a little bit, but sometimes you just have to make the effort for whoever you've got coming, because they're coming no matter what. But yeah, for good purposes, I haven't used it since, what did we left? What's the video from like 18? I think 2018 is probably the last time I really used it for an extended period of time, where it paid off, keeping open water. But my prediction is I am always optimistic. So I think we're going to have, I think November is going to be cold. I think we'll have a cold November, decent duck season. I think we'll see big numbers early. My crystal ball says bigger numbers maybe earlier, and it'll level out mid-season, and then we'll have that fun. To me, one of the most fun parts of the season is those hard southern warmer days in January, which people, not when I say warm, I mean, you get the south wind, it's 50 degrees during the day, 60 maybe, where you're back to shooting ducks that, came through early in November, opening day weekend. Those are some really, really fun hunts when the days are longer, the gadwalls and teal are pushing back through, and you're sitting there and you hadn't seen a teal in 2 weeks, and you got a hard south wind, and bam, there's, 100 teal out over the field. And you're like, wow, those are fun. Those are some memories I have from years and years ago that make it fun. But I think we're going to have a better than average. I don't think that we will see the numbers like people think. I think in some people's heads, in their mind, they have it made up that if it's cold, that they're going to see these massive pushes, migrations like we used to. And I don't think that we're there yet.
The birds aren't there.
The birds aren't there. You can simply look at the numbers.
We've got half the mallards we had 8 years ago.
Yeah. So I think in people's head, they're like, well, they're there. They're there. They got to be there. We haven't shot them. They've got to be there. And they're not. And I think that people will see better duck days, more quality duck days this season. But I think it's going to be, I'm going with colder and wetter in November.
I really, really hope that you're right. I would like for cold weather to come after Thanksgiving, because we're going to get our calendar birds regardless. So, like, for us, selfishly, I would take like a Thanksgiving, first part of December, really, really cold snap and push some of those birds down that we hadn't seen the last couple of years. That's what I'm hoping for.
My prediction is I'm going to guarantee a cold winter, and I'll tell you why. We never get all three things at the same time. We never have a good economy. We never have water here, and we never have cold weather. We always get two of the three. We've got water here, economy's in the toilet, so we're going to have cold weather. So it's a guarantee of cold weather. That's the way I go by it. Because there's
Andy, do you think the economy's in the toilet?
I think it's propped up for sure. I think, I mean,
go to the grocery store.
It costs a lot to fill up your gas. Oh, we lost you. Fix it, Chris. Gas is quite a bit. Groceries are ridiculous right now, so I think people's dollars are stretched a little bit more thin. But I don't know. As far as like saying the economy is bad, we're not in a recession or anything.
Well, all I go by in my business is I talk to other outfitters, and we're very blessed. I know a lot of outfitters are really struggling right now to get people in the doors. Lots of them. And I think it's economy related. Big companies aren't spending money like they were. They're holding money until I think a lot of those people are going to hunt. I have found that out over the years.
But is that economy being bad, or is that just we're in an election cycle and there's a lot of uncertainty about what's going to come in the future? I don't know that. I think it's more the uncertainty rather than it is the economy being strained.
Well, whatever it is, people aren't spending money like they do. The guys that are not sending their money for hunts on February, March, and April like they normally are, they're going to send them in August, September, and October. They still want to hunt. They're just holding on to their dollar longer than usual. But a lot of the guys that are smaller outfitters are really having a hard time right now. And so
that's interesting because David and I just talked to a guy recently, and maybe it's just in my part of the world and the people that I was talking to, but a lot of guys that I know that have had leases in the past have given up the leases and have decided, instead of having a lease that costs X, Y, and Z dollars for the whole season, they're just going to take 3 or 4 quality hunts.
Yeah.
And go with outfitters and because they were only having 2 or 3 good hunts during the season and paying more money. They're like, man, I'm just going to take my kids and who I want and go on 1 or 2, 3, 4 quality hunts a year. So that's interesting that you say the outfitters are struggling because, and I know there's more now, Jeff, I've heard you say there's more now than there have been.
By a long way.
Yeah, I think part of that is, Jimbo, is you getting older too.
Probably.
And I think people age out of some of that hardcore leasing stuff and just life gets busy, travel, baseball.
When does that, what age does that happen when you start aging out of the hardcore leasing?
Well, it hadn't happened for me, but it happens for a lot of people.
Sweating in July with mosquitoes that are the size of cicadas in Arkansas is, those days are getting, and I try to get Tripp to do some more work, but.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. You know, people, their time, like you said earlier, people are busy nowadays. And instead of pouring all of this blood, sweat, and tears into this duck lease, let's take that money, let's take the resources, and let's book 2 really, really good trips a year, or 3, or however many it is. And work's taken care of on the back end. All I got to do is show up and shoot straight, you know? More bang for your buck that way.
I think the young people are doing this because David is at the age that David enjoys probably getting out of the house, go to a camp, cook with your buddies, hang out, and relax.
He doesn't like to cook with his buddies.
He doesn't, so I'm wrong on that. But a lot of older guys do. They're not.
You cannot outcook David Schuessler. That is a fact.
So he's a cook. So he loves to go cook for everybody then, right, David?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's young people today live by that phone. And unless they've got cell service or they got internet service or whatever it is all the time, everything they do is based on the phone. When I say young people, I'm talking about people under 40 years of age. Most people over that appreciate spending time with their friends and doing nothing at a hunting camp. And I think it's more of an older deal. Younger guys are doing exactly what y'all were talking about. I've got tons of guys that used to be on deer leases. And instead of doing a corporate deer lease, Jeff, we're going to come out, we're going to buy 2 deer hunt from you this year, and they're going to bring 12 guys, and we're going to waterfowl hunt with you 2 or 3 times, and we're going to save $20,000 what we're spending for this big lease in South Texas. Because time is money, and they don't have time. The older guy still enjoys those leases and stuff. The younger guys don't because of time.
Have leases, so here's my question, and I know nothing about this. I couldn't tell you, but have leases gotten to the point to where guys like Jimbo and I's age can no longer afford them?
There's probably some of that because they've gotten pretty damn expensive too.
You know what I mean? Like It's just it's like the housing market. The average home price is like $420,000. It's not feasible for somebody Jimbo and I's age to get in. The ground floor is no longer there. It's just it's inflated so much that we can't get into that game.
Jimbo's got that Ducks Unlimited money. He may be in a $750,000
well,
house.
the Andy Shaver tax bracket. How about that?
No, I'm in Andy's tax bracket for sure. But no, it's too expensive. Like, I mean, I will 100% never take for granted the opportunities that have been given to me by my family, by my grandfather and my dad, and the hunting opportunities. Now, my grandfather is probably in the less than 1% of people left at his age at 86 that still think every single day about duck hunting. Like I have recently had to tell him, Bubba, we can't talk every single day about it. Like there have got to get some stuff done. Like I can't think about it today, but he does. And so
let me tell you what, Jimbo, I'm going to cut in right here. You better enjoy that every single chance you get, because I would give my left arm to be talking to my grandfather about duck hunting right now.
Well, we talk plenty. I mean, just the second and third conversations in a day, but no, like we're building a new blind in our woods. And so we've had to talk a lot about it, but no, I never take for granted the opportunities. In fact, this year I was asked to go on a duck hunt in Alaska, which is on my bucket list, with some of my very good friends from DU, some of the guys that came in the same time I did to DU, and we were going to take a vacation and go up there, and they actually are coming back on opening day in Arkansas, and I was like, there's no way. Like I will.
You got to go into them woods.
I got to go. I mean, yes, David laughs every year. My grandfather's never going to listen to this, so I'm good. We go into the timber on opening day every single year, no matter what. Leaves can be fully on there. We can have 6 inches of water. We can have 3 feet of water. We're going into the woods as a family. And David laughs because he'll text me at like 7:30 and, we're done. Got our birds. How is it?
How you doing?
And I just refuse to answer. I just won't answer him till like noon. You know the answer to this question. We have had unbelievable days there, but the past few years it just hadn't been cold, so the leaves are all over the trees. We still have grass in the woods hole, and it just hasn't panned out. But it's something that we'll do forever, and I'm blessed that Tripp gets to do it with my grandfather, and he will always remember doing it with him. But we're part of the reason we're building the blind is so he can continue to enjoy it in the woods and. Yeah, it's special, and my dad and uncle, and it's a cool place. So when I go over there, yes, I'm spending time with them, Tripp and my grandfather, and we've always got a project, obviously, around the camp. But I don't take it for granted because we do lease, and our farmer could one day say, "Hey, you got to go."
Yeah. How old your grandpa?
86.
86 years old and still tromping through the woods. God bless him. He's lucky. He's living his best life. And you said all he wants to talk about is duck hunting and stuff. He's 86 years old. He ain't going to talk about chicks. So he wants to talk about ducks. And God bless him for that. He's beat life. He won the lottery in life. He did.
Well, and I will say that technology has helped him 100%. And things like shin waders, and I'm not throwing, all the credit to them, but clothing has helped him.
Yes.
Being able to wear less clothing, waders that are easier to walk in, that kind of stuff has helped him tremendously. Because if he still had to wear,
how about the vehicles to get around?
Yeah, I mean, he's always got the best. And that's another big one. Is he would get so cold on the rides out in the morning that he'd have to warm up and wear so much on the ride out that by the time he got there, he was already cold. And took him a long time to get. So a couple of years ago, my grandmother and I forced him to buy a side-by-side with windows, doors, and heat. And it has changed his life. I mean, literally changed his life. Now he's worked very hard in life to be able to do those types of things, but it's changed the way he can get around and stay warm and not get out until it's time to go hunting.
I would love to hear the conversation when he went to look for that side-by-side, and that guy said, that'll be $52,000. He's like, for a freaking side-by-side, $52,000?
We don't, he doesn't get to negotiate.
But I bet he about shit when he found out how much they are. But it has changed. Everything about hunting has changed with the younger generation because of technology. You can get to places to hunt you never could before Warren Coco come out with the Go Devil. All that stuff has made things so much easier. I remember as a kid hunting, and we had snowmobile suits that me and Tony wore when we were like under 10 years old, because that's all they had. And it was a black snowmobile suit that had a yellow arm patch that would glow, reflector, and so you wouldn't get run over on a damn snowmobile. But it was the warmest thing they had. They didn't have any of that stuff. And then the waders that we had when I was a kid and even younger, the most stiff-ass waders you were walking in, those new shin waders are like walking in sweatpants. They're so comfortable, and it does make a difference, and he can stay warm. And you know where he's at because of that cell phone. If something happens, you can get somebody to help him.
We don't let him go on his own. He does still every once in a while go just walking through the woods, and he enjoys that aspect, but we don't let him go off on his own. In fact, we've almost don't let him we almost don't let him go out in the mornings and drive his side-by-side anymore by himself because we get distracted by cell phones. He gets distracted by ducks. And last season, him and my son Tripp will ride in front of him and ride into our timber hole. The woods start to come up off the levee to the left, and wood ducks and mallards are getting out of the woods to the left side. And I'm behind them, and him and Tripp are in there. And I look up, and they are literally a foot from this ditch. And the ditch, they could both stand in the ditch, but they also are in an enclosed cab. So I'm thinking, and he was looking at all the ducks as they're getting up in the woods, riding down and not paying attention. And they were literally a foot away from dropping the front right tire off, and they'd have both gone in the ditch. And I'm like, I was so mad at first. And then I got to the spot where we take everything off, and I was like, you know what? It's not worth it. And I was like, Bubba, did you get distracted looking in the woods? He goes, yeah, bud. Did you see how close the tire was? I was like, I don't know. I didn't see it at all.
Well, I can't wait to get old enough that my kids don't gripe at me about stuff and my grandkids. That was going to be so awesome.
But it's not worth it. It's not worth it with him. Like, I've had to change I am very intense in the mornings. I am not the nicest duck hunter in the mornings, but it's not worth it anymore, Jeff. I used to get so mad at him. He'd get out there and like, I forgot my gun, Bo. I got to go back to the house. And I'm like, God, so, shooting light. And you can't tell him, hey, stay on the levee for the first shooting light because I'm going to shoot. So it's like, all right, here he comes. Right is opening, right as shooting light's available. And he comes riding back down there. And then when he gets there, he's like, well, he's got his gun. And I'm not going to just sit there and make him take his Ranger to the parking spot. So I'm like, well, I'll go do it. But I did teach Tripp how to drive the Ranger this year, so now he gets to go and do it. And he loves it. So it helped. But, yeah, you don't take those things for granted. And it's fun watching you two. I mean, I was a blast out there last year watching the way y'all.
We still argue.
We all do. But
I miss my dad. I'd give anything to chew on my dad's ass again. And I chewed on it a lot. Not to chew on him, but just to be able to have that banner back and forth of him not listening and wearing me out. And I swear my dad did it just to jack with me all the time. But I miss that so much. I really do. And I was thinking about your grandpa was born in 1938. What changes he's seen in his lifetime? Because when he was a teenager, we were at the Korean War. He was born during World War II. And just all the things all the duck hunting he's seen that's come and go in that area. And I'm sure when he first started duck hunting, there wasn't a commercial operation nowhere around that area.
No. Well, man. Yeah. And he's him and Edward Nickens, Eddie Nickens have become really close friends. And Eddie's written about my grandfather tons of times and different things, but my grandfather's never missed an opening day. And he went to World War II. I think World War II.
No, he would have been 5.
Well,
he went to Korea probably.
Yeah, because that's where he was the story is in Korea. So yeah, it must have been, he was in Korea and he didn't know exactly when opening day was, but he knew about when it was. And so he went to the office where you checked out guns. What's it called?
Armory.
Wherever the
Armory.
No. Yeah. I can't remember. Anyways, he went there, got a single shotgun, went to a rice farm, and they had ducks, and he knocked on the guy's door, and he's told this story, and it's written in magazines. I know it's in Field and Stream, but he knocked on the door, and the guy opened the door, and he did a bunch of hand motions and said, shoot ducks. And the guy's like, huh? And he's like, shoot ducks. And the guy was like, yeah, whatever, go. And so they went out there, and it was like him and another guy, and they went out there with their single shot guns and shot, I think 1 or 2 ducks.
Good.
But he tells the story that it was very close to opening day. So we've always told he's never missed opening day.
That's good for him. You know what? That probably made him feel a lot more comfortable and made him feel like he was at home again.
Oh, yeah. That time. Absolutely.
That's an amazing story.
I never would get on to Jeff's dad if he wanted to take forever getting the dogs ready and putting his little, because he was our flagger. He could not blow a goose call to save his life. So he was a designated flagger in the group. And he had 18 of them. And between all 18, he had one functioning flag if he put all the pieces together. So
sounds like Blake.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Him and Blake.
A lot.
They have a lot in common.
He gave me the flag last year and the arm was coming out and one going.
Yeah. So it would take him a while to get the dogs ready. It'd take him a while to get assemble his flag of 18 different flag parts and duct tape and everything else that held it together, and just let it ride. It's going to be okay.
Yep.
We might miss the first group or whatever. It's going to be okay. It's okay. We got all morning. So
a lot of days we've missed the first group.
My dad was a human rain delay about shit. And God bless him. He didn't listen very well and he was very hard headed, but he would go with me on guided hunts all the time, and he'd sit in the back and he'd flag and do whatever. And one time I had a group from, the guy was from Arkansas that was here, and he was wanting to shoot a speckle belly, and I don't understand why. I guess maybe in the early 90s, y'all didn't have a ton of specks in Arkansas.
No,
yeah, there were none in Arkansas.
So he wanted to shoot a speck. Well, this beautiful black barred up trophy speck comes in, and it's hovering over the decoys, just kind of over, 4 foot off the ground, back and forth, trying to find where it wants to set at. And I'm like, heck yeah, first bird of the morning, this guy's going to shoot this trophy speck. That's all I heard about all last night.
You see the tip money.
And so I'm like, shoot him. Boom. And my dad shot that freaking goose that quick, sitting next to me. And the guys kind of look back at me, the customers, and I look at my dad. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Oh, you said shoot him. You hunt every freaking day. Don't do it. I'm telling you, it's like clockwork. Less than 5 minutes later, another single speck comes up and does the same kind of thing right there. And I've got a flag, and what I'm using for a flag is I've got a black graphite golf club that I've got a 2 foot by 2 foot black flag on, and I just waving it from way off. And then I've got the regular flag also. My dad's got it, and I'm fixing to holler, get him. And my dad reaches up to grab that gun, and I hit him across the forearm with that flag. Whack, hit him on that deal. Drops his gun and said, "What you did?" I said, "Let them shoot." So about 3 volleys in, every time my dad starts to pick up his deal, I pick up that flag, and he looks at me and puts his gun down. After 3 volleys, I told him, I said, "Dad, you can shoot all you want now." And I'm sure he shot more than he was supposed to, because that's the way he did something. But I'll never forget him shooting that thing and not paying attention. But that reminded me of my dad and the flag.
I'm sure he looked like a coward dog every time that Jeff called the shot. Just a little.
God dang it.
Just a little. You got to let these old people live a little.
But yeah, Andy and my dad were super tight. Andy never got on to him. I got on to him all the time.
Wouldn't do any good. It's not going to speed him up any. You're just going to have an argument for 5 or 10 minutes that you could spend that 5 or 10 minutes with him getting ready for the hunt instead of bickering back and forth. So
that's my dad and my grandfather for sure.
They bicker.
And it's actually, hurry up, butter the biscuits. I mean, I can go down
the biscuits.
The food and my grandfather, we call him a hustler, and I don't cook. I'm in charge of the outdoor operations, and so I don't mess with anything in the kitchen, and especially at duck camp. And so I'll come in, they'll say, "Bub, breakfast ready." And about the time I'm getting, my grandfather's already got his plate, and he's sitting in the same seat. And in his seat, he'll have a sticky spot. I mean, and by the time it's done, his molasses is, by the end of the season, it's probably an inch and a half thick, where he pours the molasses on his biscuits and then sets the container back down, and it runs down the side, hits the table. When he gets done eating, he picks it up, doesn't wipe it up. So it's kind of a running joke. There's one spot that's, it's so sticky. There's no way you could get it off. But yeah, they bicker back and forth all the time.
David, what is your favorite duck camp meal to cook? Are you a breakfast guy, or do you like cooking dinner?
Dinner, it would be fried speckle belly.
Fried speckle belly, like chicken fried speckle belly, breading and just like that.
Yep.
I love you. I love you to death, David. But please don't invite me to come to dinner at goose camp with you.
Why's that?
Because I don't want to eat a damn goose. That's like if I went to someone's house for Thanksgiving.
Then I would do. I'd do a gumbo for you, or we would do
pate.
Yeah, he'd eat my goose pate.
You know what? That's crazy, because I don't mind pate. But I'm just not a goose. And as I've gotten older, I had some goose or duck in Mexico a couple of years ago at a French restaurant that was very, very good. I mean, really, really good.
That was probably foie gras.
No, no, it wasn't. It was goose. It was a goose, and it was really good.
I'll tell you this, Jeff. If you ate and Jimbo, I'm hoping he'll back me on this. If you ate my fried speck, you would go give me another piece.
Yes.
You put gravy on it?
No.
I can make you some gravy. I don't serve it with gravy, but I'll take specks. I'll soak them out. I'll dry age them for 10 days, soak them for another week. Then I'm tenderizing them and putting what I put on them, and then doing them right with a mixture of flour and baking powder and all that other stuff, and deep frying them. We have a deep fryer at the club.
It's not when David, if he ever in his retirement world, he could be a world-class chef, because in everything, it's like me and Andy and all of us hunting's the same way, but there's a method to the madness, and you can't, I've probably seen him cook more than most people, and helped him prepare meals more than most. Like, I don't touch anything until I'm told to touch it.
Right.
No lie. You got like there. You have to use a certain style Ziploc bag to tenderize the speck. Like but it's always the same. And I agree, Jeff. Like once you ate his meals, like they're special. The gumbo is amazing. Everybody here puts potato salad in their gumbo, which is something that I don't do. I've always done rice. The gumbo's good. The pate's good. But the fried speck, we have people come every year, the same few people, and we have people come to hunt with either him or I. And our clubs are 45 minutes apart, so a lot of times we'll share responsibilities, and we'll stay at my camp and hunt David's club if he has ducks, or we'll stay at David's and hunt my place. And so it's cool in that aspect. But people, probably the most thing is, hey man, we're gonna get fried speck this week. Like it's always asked for.
I noticed he did not tell us the ingredients. He goes, the stuff I put on it. So that was the big secret. He's not letting that out. I got that. Do you do homemade potato salad, David? I know it's probably a dumb question, but do you do homemade?
No, I don't, because there are so many barbecue locally owned, right? Like single owner operator barbecue houses in Memphis. It is not worth making your own potato salad or slaw.
I've got to
just go to one of those places and buy it, because I can't make it better than the commissary,
right?
Or One and Only, and the list goes on and on and on.
We've got a guy that hunts every year with us, Mr. Vincent, and he's from Southern Louisiana, and he cooks, I think, jambalaya, didn't he, last year?
I've had so much.
Is amazing, but he makes
Cajun
potato salad every year. And I don't know what his recipe is for potato salad, but it is my favorite potato salad in the world. It's not real mustardy, but it's got mustard in it, and it's got mayo, but it's just really, really good. And this year, by God, I'm going to find out how the hell he makes it so I don't have to just eat it. I hoard it. Whatever's left over, I take home and ate a little bit every night for a while. And I had 2 deals set aside. I had one here for lunch for me, and I hid it in the back of the refrigerator. I walked in one time, and Blake and everybody was eating all that. And I'm like, son of a bitch. They wiped it all out in a day. Thought I got to hide that shit better.
That's like David's pate. Every time he makes it, I'll run in and just dabble in it for a minute, get wheat thins and eat a little bit. And then as people start to bail on it, I go from the wheat thins to a spoon. And I mean, I will sit there.
We'll take them a batch of pate when we go. Well, no, we're flying. We can't. Well, we might be able to do it.
That stuff's good. Pate is good. Really good.
Oh. See, but it's not like there, Jeff. It's not like he's cutting the breast meat out of the speckle belly and then frying it, right? Like he's got a whole system. He's got the salt brine and the dry age. So I mean,
the hidden ingredients.
But it's
still a freaking goose.
No, I don't. I think you would be. I think you would be surprised.
Well, one of these days I'll have to eat some of it and try it. As I've gotten older, goose and duck don't bother me as much as it is. But I grew up with my dad. My dad was a great cook, but my dad was not a good waterfowl cook.
Well, he liked liver and onions. So if a duck or a goose tasted like liver and onions, he was happy.
He loved it, and I didn't. But he would bake these ducks.
You don't know what it tastes like.
Yeah, he would bake a duck in the oven when I was a kid. My mom and dad were divorced, and so we'd go over to my dad's, and we hunted with my dad all the time. He'd be like, "I'm gonna make duck. You want to come over and eat duck?" No. And we would go over there, and I'm telling you, this stuff was dried out, looked like the turkey off of Christmas Vacation. And it didn't matter what you put on it; it still tasted like eating a hockey puck. That tasted like liver. It was horrible. That was my experience growing up as a kid eating ducks and goose.
So my mother was a professional chef, and so I grew up in her kitchen. My family also at one point owned a restaurant, and grew up in that kitchen. And I remember my mother telling me when I was very young, son, you either cook a duck rare or you cook it until it falls apart. And anything in between that is not worth consuming.
Well, this was the in-betweeners.
And that was the in-between. Anything in between tastes like liver. Yep. And I guess for people that love liver, maybe it's okay. I despise the in-between. It's rare or it's falling off the bone.
Yeah. I recently, a couple months ago, I say recently, it was during baseball season. I had some speckle belly in the freezer, and I did the salt brine, and I was only going to leave it in there for a little. How long do you put yours in the salt brine?
I've done it as long as 21 days.
Oh, that long?
Maybe you didn't do it long enough, Andy.
Well, I did it, and like the salt was overpowering.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, so a lot of it is how much you use.
Oh, right.
how much salt you put in. I generally try to do 7 or 8 days. If it's in the middle of the season and there's only so much room in the garage fridge, I have to turn it a little bit quicker. But I have forgotten them, and they've gone 21 days. And I mark the package. I'll take it out, dry it, freezer back it, and then I mark the package 21 days. And when I got to cook it, I went, wow, this is really, really, really good. So I'm sure you could get to a point to where it was too long and you break the meat down too much, or something starts growing or whatever. But we have to remember that not that long ago, people were hanging ducks for a month out in cool rooms, and we eat wild game. I believe we eat wild game way too quick.
Really?
Yeah. I think if people knew how long and the type of preparation that good red meat in a restaurant goes through, steaks in a restaurant goes through. And if you live in a place where you can hang and the temperatures stay low enough to where you're not going to start growing bad stuff on the meat, or if you have room in a refrigerator to do it, more people should age their ducks and geese longer. It makes a massive difference. So
do you have like a designated dry ager, a fridge that is specifically designed for the dry aging process? Because you can't just throw it in a regular fridge, right?
Well, I dry age open air. So I have a room off of my garage that generally unless we get those warm days that Jimbo talks about, or just those awful warm days in December, I can keep that room probably stays 55 degrees or lower. And so I'll hang birds for 5-6 days in there.
I need to try that.
Then just pull them out and rest them. Now, if I'm gonna pick them whole, just because I worry about the intestines, I might only do 2 or 3 days, and then pick them, because that's where you get in trouble with your meat getting spoiled. Is you've got one that's jumbo shot, that's gut shot, or something like that you don't want it mixing
body shot.
Yeah,
you don't want it mixing with the meat.
Yeah, I need to try that dry aging thing. I think it would enhance my cooking a little bit. Maybe we'll turn Jeff into a waterfowl eater.
It definitely will. And I have had people in Memphis who grew up eating ducks and geese because it's just where we are, who either at a cocktail party or tailgate when my boys playing high school football or whatever, eat a duck that I just had put on the grill. And oh my gosh, you have to give my husband this recipe. Tell your husband to dry age his meat and then put it in salt water for 4 or 5 days. I said, all I did is throw that thing on the grill and take it off rare with salt and pepper. It's all the preparation before you cook it.
The salt water is huge. I mean, I brine every one of my ducks. I don't age them as long because I don't have a room, and I have a Tasmanian devil that lives in the garage, and my dog that's 12 that acts like he's 2. And so, I mean, I don't leave him in there, but I'll leave them on the board at the club, especially if 50 degrees and less. I'll leave them outside until I leave. I'll tag them and leave them up there until I leave, which, most of the time I'm not there more than 3 days anyway. So I'll leave them up and take them back or clean them at home, and then they go in the brine, salt water, and they stay for a week. I try to do 7 days. I've done longer. I've done a lot longer by accident one time in our outside fridge. And when I pour it out, when you dump it out, if it doesn't come out and look like molasses coming out, it's not long enough.
That's a good way to put it, Bo.
It's not long enough. So
just get all that blood out of there.
That's the key. That's what I tell people all the time. Why do you do that? Well, it draws all that blood out. And I think that's where the game taste comes from.
And breaks the meat down.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've got next year we got the DUX coming, and excited to hear that is all sold out right now.
Sold out the main floor.
The main floor.
Yep. Which is 118,000 square feet, freestanding, no columns. That's sold out, been sold out for about a week. We are taking, for anybody out there who's still interested in being a part of it, we are creating a waiting list, because we have the ability to open up a room right across the hallway from the main floor. So it won't be a room that's lost, but we just have to have a certain number of folks who want to do that before we go ahead and invest in opening that that room up across the hall.
I think there's 11 people on that waiting list
as of last night. Yeah. Like the waiting list isn't going to be there for long either, I think, before we just go ahead and fill that one up. So we're excited. I mean, to be sold out a year in advance, what the city's planning to do for us, just the excitement inside the industry, what we're doing with having our national leadership conference there and our staff meeting, which we've never done before. We've never held one of these where all of our fundraising staff and our volunteer leaders from around the country can be a part of it, meet all of the vendors and the sponsors. It's going to be a lot of fun. Very cool.
So it's the Memphis Convention Center. Is that where this is at?
It's called the Renaissance Convention Center. It's right on the river and right across the interstate from the Bass Pro Pyramid and our Waterfowl Heritage Museum.
Well, does it have a hotel that's attached to it?
Yes.
So you need to get your hotel rooms booked pretty quick. This is going to be the biggest waterfowl event ever, probably, wouldn't you say?
We'd like to think.
Yes.
I mean, I can't think of any that big.
I have to think. I mean, from just the floor space, I'd have to say yes. I know that DU is probably 500-600 people that'll be there for our leadership conference. And so that's just a start. Obviously, Memphis and this part of the world, the Mid-South, it's pretty big waterfowl hunting culture here. So we would expect that there will be a lot of people that travel into it, as well as people that live here. So it's just exciting. Every day there's just more news that kind of gins up around so-and-so is going to launch this product here, or so-and-so's planning this there. And it's just, to be a year out and to have that type of excitement you almost have to govern yourself a little bit.
We were talking about this at Squad Fest. Hunting shows have really fallen off, except for these exclusive type deals that are like this is going to be big because it's a waterfowl show. Squad Fest is just waterfowl. People go to that stuff. The overall hunting shows, people aren't going to no more. Like the big shows in Texas, people don't go to those no more like they used to. But they will go to this. Waterfowl hunters from all over the world will come to this because it is a duck hunting event, and that's what that's their jam. And that's what they like to do. I'm excited. I can't wait. It's going to be a busy summer next year for us, and I am so excited for it.
Well, I think the other thing is companies are now doing show exclusives. And I think that's using the influencer model of and using exclusives at different shows to launch products that people want to be a part of it. And it's not as much as, hey, what can I go? Let's see how much stuff I can buy while I'm there. They want to go get the one-offs while they're there. And we plan to do a lot of the one-off stuff. And we've had a lot of companies reach out about doing the one-off stuff. And we know of some really, really cool, very influential people in the industry that are going to do one-off stuff. And I think that's what will drive, that's what drives some of the interest. And social media obviously helps with that. But
a lot of these gear companies that are direct to consumer,
yeah,
like if you want to touch their cloth, if you want to touch whatever their wader fabric is, you got to go to this show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Like there's only so many places you can go and actually step into those to see how they feel. So I think that's a big part of it, Jeff, in the kind of the exclusives. ICAST is another one in the fishing industry that's just massive. I mean, they keep having to move it so big because of all of those direct to consumer, and that's just where you go to see it.
And that's the new trend anyways. There's going to be more and more of those, but the waterfowl business is controlled by direct to consumer guys just about now. That's where you got to do most of your business at.
Well, it seems like every new company that enters the market, that is their model.
Yeah, it saves
Seems like it.
A lot of money on overhead and a lot of money on rent. Saves a ton.
Yep. But they spend a lot of money in marketing. I mean, that's the difference, right? I mean, I don't know how much money they save is how much money they're putting into other aspects of hiring some of the best media people in the business. I mean, and even with companies too, using and paying amazing people to do the work and be a part of that social media. If you're not a direct to consumer type company, you're paying some of the best in the business to do it for you.
Y'all have got one of the most iconic brands of anywhere in any. I mean, you see it and you know it's Ducks Unlimited, like Coca-Cola. If you see a Coca-Cola deal, you know it's Coca-Cola automatically. And Nike, you see a Nike swoosh, you know it's Nike. I wonder if Coca-Cola went 1 year without spending $1 in advertising, if their sales would even drop.
As somebody who studied it in school, yes,
it would.
Yes.
How much?
Oh, I don't know, but in the cola wars, and there are other people who are, you know, in the fast food wars and the cola wars. If you don't keep that brand recognition top of mind, when somebody walks into a convenience store, somebody is going to buy Pepsi instead of Coke based on the most recent commercial they saw and the popular person on it. And that's the reason why they spend all of that money on that advertising. And I think people like the four of us on this call, and probably a lot of the listeners and viewers of this, don't fit inside of that consumer group that is influenced so much by advertising.
See that?
But there is the vast majority of our society is.
See, I didn't realize that, because I'm not a Pepsi guy unless I'm at Taco Bell and they only have a Pepsi product. If I drink a soda, I want a Coke or Coke Zero. That's what I'm going to get. And it's not because any advertisement, because I can't even tell you the last time I saw a Coke, because I don't watch regular TV ever. But I've always wondered about as much money as they spend on advertising, how much bang for their buck they're getting. Because I think Coca-Cola sells more water now than they do Coca-Cola.
They do through Dasani.
Yes.
I think that's the brand. But Jeff, when you were 19 years old, you might have been influenced to drink a Pepsi if you saw the right ad.
Yes, I would 100% agree with you on that. On everything.
If your favorite, when you were 15, if your favorite NFL football player, right, Mean Joe Green in the jersey, right, that's like the best. Then if they were drinking Pepsi, you would have drank Pepsi.
So my dad loves NASCAR, and I grew up going to Talladega as a kid. Even when he lived in Nashville and we lived in South Carolina, my parents were divorced. We went to NASCAR, and Jeff Gordon was then, and I was a big Jeff Gordon fan, loved Jeff Gordon, and he was a Pepsi guy, and I used to drink Pepsi because I thought it was cool because Jeff Gordon did it. When I was 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, I drank Pepsi, and now, I mean, I don't drink soft drinks, but couldn't tell you the last time I had a Pepsi.
If Jeff Gordon come out now and did a Metamucil commercial, would you do Metamucil?
I mean, I'm sure.
I was a Jeff.
I'm all in.
I was a Jeff Gordon guy also, just because everybody else hated him, so I loved him.
That's me too.
Yep, and that's, I was the same with Danica Patrick. I was against her because everybody loved her, so I was always wanting to see her not do very well. NASCAR needs a villain. They do. They need someone for you to pull against to have shit happen bad to. I can't watch NASCAR now because it's all the same kids. So I can't watch it anymore.
And the amount of money that's spent in NASCAR is crazy,
it's nuts.
too.
I mean,
advertising.
Yeah. And if you watch that show Formula One that's on Netflix, NASCAR is a bunch of poor rednecks when you watch the Formula One boys.
Yeah.
I mean,
I got to go to one Formula One race, and it was the difference in, I can't even come up with a good analogy, but the folks who were there, the speed of the cars, it was night and day versus NASCAR.
It's like playing a municipal golf course or going to Augusta.
Yeah, I think that's it. And then went to a NASCAR race a year later after a Formula One race, all at Texas Motor Speedway, when we were out there working for the last DUX, right? Going and meeting with potential sponsors at these races. NASCAR looked slow after going to that Formula One race.
Was the eye candy better at NASCAR or at Formula One? Was there prettier women? Which one?
I was working. I was going down the hallway, meeting with potential sponsors. I could tell you who had better food in their sponsor boxes.
Because I'm going to bet you money if you go to a Big Ten football game or you go to an SEC football game, eye candy's a lot better at the SEC games than they are at a Big Ten game.
Oh, I'll say absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's it's like going to Target or Walmart. There's a lot better looking women in Target than there are Walmart.
I'll go to either one.
I don't either, but if you did go to one, Target's eye candy's gonna be better.
Different brands, man. They get different people in the doors. So what else we got going on? Summer's wrapping up. You guys gonna be teal hunting pretty soon, or do they come through your area?
We don't do it. There's some people that do some here. Part of our problem is so much of what we hunt over and flood. I mean, our crops are still in, so you can't go out and flood your rice fields. I guess you could, but the rice is cut, but you're going to start spoiling it. The soybeans aren't out yet, so you're not going to flood that.
I mean, you can go to the swamp, but I've done it, but it's miserable. I mean, it's snakes, mosquitoes, hot. I mean, I'd rather dove hunt.
I'm going to Texas. I'm going to go hunt. I'm going to go hunt them in Texas with some guys I used to hunt with when I lived down there.
You going down to the Texas coast?
Yeah, we're going to go down outside of Bay City.
Between there and Venice, Louisiana, has got to be the best teal hunting in the in the world. Or those areas right through there.
Without a doubt. I mean, that is where the vast majority of the blue wings come through.
This weekend we've got third term here in town. 305 university students from 80 different colleges. So big weekend for us here. Starts, a lot of people are here now. A lot of students are coming in today, start coming in tomorrow, Friday, and it's a big weekend. We have Cody Stokes and the team from Dive Bomb are coming down. Cody's one of the keynote speakers tomorrow. Him and Nathan and
Peter Coors
coming
to speak to him.
They'll be here speaking tomorrow. So it's really funny, right? Let's see here. We have Bob Spurl, our current president. Then we have Jimbo Robinson, and then we have Cody Stokes and Peter Coors. Like, they are not even going to remember my name.
You never know.
But it's the impact of this weekend, and Adam Putnam and David use this all the time. The scenario of, man, how many businesses, and I think that more businesses are now catching on to this secret that we've had for so long is you basically are going to have 80 CEOs in one room, because they are from 80 different colleges. You got the chairman of that local committee, and the influence that you can have on those people in these 2 days is powerful. And so we're going to have, and then most of them have a co-chair. So you basically have 80 CEOs and COOs of their local chapters in one room, and they're all here because they are DU University volunteers. And it's incredible what this weekend has become, but it's even more powerful with the support and that has come with it recently.
Jeff, it would do your heart, both of you, but especially Jeff, it would do your heart so good to stand and watch these kids, male, female, white, black, northerners, southerners, East Coast, West Coast. It covers all of the boxes. They're in that room for one reason. They love ducks, and they want to learn more about Ducks Unlimited and learn how they can do more to conserve more wetlands. Every year I come out of this weekend completely rejuvenated. Like I'm 25 years old again. Let's go and do this thing all over again. It is so fantastic to watch 18 to 22-year-olds and how much they care about the resource. And when you're talking to them, when they're in their breakout sessions or we're in the big business session, the phones are not on the table.
That's awesome.
They are just their head is up like a spook pintail, just soaking in every single word that everybody says from that stage.
Nothing brings people together like duck hunting does. I don't care where you go. If you go in someone's house or you go in their office and they've got a duck hunting print on the wall, you automatically have something you can talk about that's timeless, and it brings everybody together. I don't care if you go into the wealthiest man's house on the rich side of town, he's probably a duck hunter anyways, or you go to a poor redneck guy that hunts. They've got something they can sit in a blind and talk about. All their differences in the world can be apart because they both love shooting ducks. And the sound of a duck, just like your grandpa, you said something earlier. You said your grandpa almost ran off, him and your son, in the ditch looking at ducks. That's the kind of passion that I have for ducks. I don't care about killing them as much, but just to see them, I get excited about it. I saw a pair of teal today on a water hole, and it got me fired up. I'm thinking, there's our teal. They're here already. And, I'm excited, and I can't wait.
It's exciting. Yeah, third term. And then, our national trip auction is coming up too. I think I sent y'all, Andy, I think I sent you something to just throw in there about the national trip auction. I guess that's today.
Yeah. August 1st.
One of the cool, so we're trying that to get that out. That's going to be another monster. I don't know how many trips he's up to, probably 180, 200 different trips from across the country. So that's an interesting one. And then obviously between now and then we'll get back on for ITV, which is once again, I don't know that the craze of the things that come into this building will ever end. And I actually got to be a part of one of them this year, which is really exciting. Actually, one of the guys, I guess people feel comfortable calling me now, but this guy called me and said, "Hey man, there's a Browning A5. It's the 50th anniversary. Can I buy it?" And I was like, "Man, you can go ahead and buy it." And he's like, "You sure?" Yeah. I was like, "Man, I better call David." So I called him. I said, "Hey, we go with it." "Yep, you're good." So called him, got it. So I got to be a part of that, and it was a fun little back and forth banner with getting the guy to sell it to us at the right price. And
did you see the bronze that came in this morning?
No.
So we have a bronze, probably this big, of a duck landing. The appraisal form that came in with it was $19,000. We do not have to sell it for that because there was not a tax write-off with it. So somebody, I bet, is going to get a deal on a big, beautiful bronze in this year's End of the Vault.
And it's just continues. So that's coming up. But we'll talk to y'all before that.
We should bring some items in for that one.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Awesome studio.
That's right. You got room now to play.
And then we'll be out there with y'all in November.
Yep. But y'all are coming here, right? Film festival.
I think I'm probably going to with my.
This happened last year. Y'all were coming, and then we got close, and nobody showed up.
Andy's going to be there. Andy and Jesse are going to go. We have got a ton of dove hunters here that weekend. I've got a big corporate group here, and I most likely will be here. We're short staffed that time of year still, and so it'll be me and Tony here, and Michelle, and the ladies that work for us, and Andy and Jesse. I'm probably going to send to Memphis.
Now, Andy, when do y'all? Let us know when y'all come, because we would love for y'all to come in. If you can, Friday, bring the kids. I know you probably want to get away, but love to have y'all come to headquarters and do a tour and hang out here with us.
What if they stay Sunday night in Arkansas and we go on a specklebelly hunt Monday morning since it opens that Saturday?
Andy,
we will talk about that. I will see, because we will definitely leave the kids here. So it's going to be a, I'll have to talk to my in-laws about that and see.
Why can't they stay with us?
You got a ton of people out here.
I don't have nobody Sunday night.
Oh,
the boys are going to stay with us Sunday night and Monday. They can stay during hunting season. The boys are here all the damn time. They're not that much work.
We'll figure it out. You
can bring my pants back to me.
Bring what?
My pants.
No, you don't want them. They're mine now. They fit me better than they fit you.
This is very unusual. This is an awkward conversation. You leaving your pants.
Shin pants. Shin pants.
We started out talking about David and pumps and a Speedo and now we're down to you and Andy swapping pants.
I somehow got Jimbo's pants.
Yeah.
I like those pants now, but they're too tight for me.
Yeah.
He goes, "Well, they fit me," and I went, "Well, here you go."
They'll fit me just fine. Perfect. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll get a better plan whenever that gets a little bit closer. But yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
Dinner's at 6:00 on Sunday the 17th for the boss hunt. We still have a few spots available for that. Going to be a good time. Look forward to seeing you guys. David, I'm so excited to have you out here with us.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it this year. I'm thrilled.
Perfect. Well, we will see you guys soon. Y'all keep doing what you're doing. Summer months are almost over with, and duck season's right around the corner. It's always a pleasure talking to you guys. Congrats on the new studio. It looks great and amazing, and we will see you guys soon.
And Chris, the guy behind the scenes, you done a damn good job.
Good.
You only screwed up twice. We counted.
You did good. I got a tally mark going on. You did good though.
World famous.
That's right. If there's anything you guys need between now and then, just let us know. And if not, we will.
Oh, what's the gun of the year this year? It's the Browning A5, right?
No.
What's the gun of the year?
Beretta Browning Maxis.
It was a Browning.
Yep.
Perfect.
Brownie Max. What's the new cool thing that's going to be at all the DU banquet every year? Every year y'all got something really cool. What do you got this year?
This fall we have a blow up Santa Claus.
That's next spring.
Never mind.
Damn it! I wanted to hear about blow up Santa Claus.
Next spring you find out.
My wife.
Yeah, it's 2025, right?
Yeah, you're
Maybe
right.
I'm wrong.
I'm so excited about it. I want to put it out.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Every year I used to buy the Christmas Santa Claus from the DU deal for about 7 years.
Well,
And
this one's 9 feet tall and goes in your front yard.
But the little ones I always have around there, and every Christmas Michelle puts them out, and it reminds me of when the kids were younger and she used to get them. I don't do the outside stuff. I hate Christmas decorations, but a 9-foot Santa would be cool with Ducks Unlimited on it.
Well, it's a 9-foot Santa with a dog and a shotgun and a bag of decal.
I would put that in my yard. I would put that out here.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, you would.
That's
That's
cool.
why I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
He is. This fall there's a lot of awesome stuff.
Okay.
I don't know the axe has been one of the coolest things I think
The
we've
throwing
seen.
axe, the shotgun shaped LED. That's really hot.
Oh yeah, that
this
has been
year.
incredible. The socks.
The
Socks are always good.
I wear them in the winter all the time. I got 2 pair.
Blue socks.
I love them. All right. So tell everybody, go to a local Ducks Unlimited.
Get involved.
Get involved. Maybe getting a chapter here in Knox City next spring. I'll talk about that more in November when you're up here. Go to DU. Get involved. Put your money where your mouth is, and that's on the ducks. We need more ducks. That way we don't have to go to 3-bird limit again. Thank you, guys. God bless y'all. Be safe in Memphis, Tennessee, and go eat some ribs for me.
We'll see you guys soon.
See y'all. Thanks.
soon.
Bye.
Bye. David and Jimbo, great guys.
Great
Man,
guys.
great people.
The best.
Good
All right.
dudes.
Figure out a way to get involved with Ducks Unlimited. Summer months are it's basically all over with. School starts soon. Football practice firing up. So
Monday's first day of 2 days here in Texas for all the high schools. Unless you had spring football, then you go a week later.
be safe out there. We
Thanks.
love you.
God bless you. Bye.
Watch for deer.